The snow fell steadily as Lin Wanqing, with her mother, stepped agonizingly through the blood-stained snow ankle-deep. Behind them, the two once stately black lacquered gates of the Lin family slammed shut, locking away 15 years of their memories inside. Just hours ago, they were still members of the Lin household. Now, blood had become homeless wanderers. "Mother, be careful," Wanqing whispered softly, sending fine snowflakes toward her mother, who only nodded blankly while clutching their thin bundle, their only possessions. Wanqing never imagined that right after grandfather Lin Tiancheng's death, the family head would hastily expel them. The reason was stated with official pretense. The father had died early without heirs, so according to clan rules, the property should be apportioned by the family head as outsiders, should take refuge for one night in a ruined temple south of the city. The steward Fubo secretly handed her a small bag of dry food. Though that place was dilapidated, it was still better than freezing to death on the street corner. Fubo was the only one who came to see them off, nodding slightly in the late Qing dynasty. Monkey head. Gang couldn't speak throughout the night at that mansion. The red walls and green tiles gradually faded into the mist of Fenfei University. His withered hand tightly gripped his hand. In the courtyard of Qing'er, with cries and forgiveness, the words were finished. Then the breath stopped. Looking back now, that was the last clue left by my grandfather. The dilapidated cabin was indeed in ruins, the doorframe crooked, cold wind carrying snowflakes sneaking in through the gaps. Wanqing found a relatively dry corner and laid some dry grass on the ground. My parents sat down. Since my mother learned we were expelled from the family, she has been dazed like this. I knew it was not the loss of wealth that troubled her, but despair over the cruelty of people. "Mother, are you hungry?" Fubo gave us some rations. Wanqing asked softly. Mother shook her head, suddenly gripping Wanqing's hand, tears falling like rain. "Qing'er, now we don't even have a place to live in dignity. I could not give you a brother." Wanqing hugged her mother, holding back tears. "Mother, as long as you are here, any place can be home. When dawn comes, we'll think of a new plan." Late at night, wind and snow poured in, moonlight shining through the broken window frame. Lin Wanqing had no sleep on her mother's exhausted face. The scene before Grandpa's death kept replaying, yet calm, hard to heal oneself. Suddenly, a cold wind blew in. Her mother trembling in her sleep, Lin Wanqing took off her coat and covered her mother, deciding to go out to gather firewood. The snow under the moonlight was exceptionally bright. Lin Wanqing looked around the broken hut at the withered branches. Not far off, the old withered tree, already dead, stretched its rough texture in the moonlight. Its strange shape made him involuntarily walk over and touch the rough bark. This tree was so similar to the one in Grandpa's courtyard. Grandpa Lin Tiancheng was once the most promising son of the Lin family, traveling far and wide in his youth, experiencing countless adventures. He returned home and planted a strange tree in his own courtyard. Every day she tended with anxious care. But the tree never sprouted or bloomed, remaining withered all along. The family laughed, saying he was senile and confused. Everyone thought the dead tree was useless, but only Wanqing stayed often by her grandfather's side, listening to him tell those strange stories. Child, there is a flower in this world that only blooms in extreme cold, called Bing Pollen. Its seeds can sleep for 100 years in ice and snow, and once they find suitable soil, they bloom into the most beautiful flower in the world. Grandfather touched her head, every word from Grandfather seemed to carry a special meaning. Suddenly, Wanqing felt a stir in her heart, knelt down, and brushed aside the snow at the tree's roots with her hands. The frozen soil was as hard as iron. Her fingers soon rubbed raw with blood seeping into the earth, but she stubbornly kept digging. While digging about a foot deep, his fingers suddenly touched something hard, His heart raced as he carefully peeled away the surrounding soil. He discovered an object wrapped in oiled cloth. Holding the bundle carefully, he hurried back to the temple and cautiously opened it by the moonlight. Inside the oiled cloth was an exquisite wooden box. Neatly arranged inside were dozens of seeds. Beneath the seeds lay a thin booklet. The cover bore 3 bold characters. His hands trembled slightly in the late chilling night. Moonlight, he flipped through the pages night after night. Bingpolen's habits, cultivation methods, and miraculous effects in depth. It turns out this flower is not only extraordinarily beautiful, its petals have the rare ability to detoxify and heal, especially effective against a rare disease called last night, grandfather left a few small words. This flower is extraordinary. It requires sincerity to nurture. Flowers reflect the heart. When the heart is true, the flower blooms. Blurred Wonking's vision. It turned out grandfather had long foreseen their fate and left this legacy in advance. My child, what is this? Mother woke up unknowingly. Qingsheng asked, while Wonking handed the booklet and seeds to her mother. The rain poured heavily, earnestly recounting how they were discovered until his last breath. That night, mother gently touched the translucent seeds and let go, shedding tears as they embraced the future. At dawn, the snow stopped, and Wonking and her mother stepped on blood-stained snow toward the barren hills south of the city. There lay a barren mountain ridge called the Desperate Land in the north, where the land was flat and rocky, with strange stones according to grandfather's almost notes, deserted by people. The Ice Orchid requires exactly this flat soil and cold climate to grow. At the foot of the mountain, they found an abandoned hunter's cabin, with weakened walls that could shield them from wind and rain. After settling in, Wonking eagerly began studying how to cultivate the Ice Orchid. However, things didn't go smoothly. The first batch of seeds was sown, but after 10 days, nothing happened. Digging up the soil, they found the seeds had rotted. Wonking did not give up and studied grandfather's notes again. The Ice Orchid is extremely cold. The seeds must be soaked and requires nurturing with blood water. The second time, she strictly followed the instructions from the notes. This time, the seeds sprouted, but after a few days, the shoots withered. A month passed, their rations were almost gone, and planting kept failing. Her mother's health worsened, coughing incessantly. Wonking was anxious, but dared not show it in front of her mother. During the day, he cared for his mother and studied the reconstitution. At night, he often sat alone, doubting whether he had misunderstood his grandfather's intentions. One morning, when Wonking woke up, she found her mother had a high fever and was coughing so hard she could hardly speak. He hurried down to the small town at the foot of the mountain and sought out the old doctor at the clothing shop. The old doctor, seeing his worn clothes, initially wanted to ignore him, but upon learning the patient was seriously ill, it's difficult. He went up the old doctor with him, after taking despite the risk of poison even with a century of life, you might only barely survive. Besides, those precious medicinal materials are far beyond what you can afford. Moved by compassion, the doctor left a few ordinary herbs with him free of charge to temporarily ease the symptoms, but a full cure was impossible without rare medicine. After seeing off the doctor, Wonking looked at her mother lying unconscious on the sickbed, her heart aching. She took out the last few Bingpolen seeds, and tears fell onto them. Grandfather, foolish and dull, she softly cursed herself. Let you down. If these seeds truly have miraculous effects as you said, please bless them to sprout and grow, just enough to save my mother's life. At that moment, she suddenly noticed that the seeds, wet with tears, emitted a faint ice-blue glow. Wonking suddenly recalled a phrase from the notes. The Bingpolen blooms profusely when nurtured with heartfelt blood. She seemed to understand something. This time, she no longer mechanically followed the steps, but poured all her focus and heart into these last seeds. Every morning, he whispered tenderly to the seeds, sharing his worries for his mother and hopes for the future. Every night, he cared for them carefully, just like tending a baby. Interestingly, those few seeds seemed to truly sense his dedication. After breaking through the soil, they grew exceptionally well. Half a month later, the dripping bingpolen bloomed. It was a beauty beyond words, with translucent petals like ice sculptures, reflecting a faint blue glow in the moonlight, and a golden core shining like stars in the night sky. Even more remarkable, the flower emitted a refreshing fragrance that cleared the mind. Wanqing cautiously picked a petal and soaked it in hot water to help her mother drink it. A miracle happened. Overnight, her mother's fever went down. Her pain also reduced significantly. 3 days later, she was able to get out of bed and walk to the window, her complexion healthier than ever. Dear child, this truly is a wonder. Mother was overwhelmed with joy. The miraculous powers of bingpolen quickly spread throughout the nearby villages. Curious people came to visit, and Wanqing generously allowed them at high prices, flowers, hoping to cure illness with the petals. Yet Wanqing only charged a small fee, and she took nothing from poor families. Gradually, news of the miraculous winter blooms spread far and wide. The next spring, Wanqing and her mother had already opened up a small flower field. They discovered that bingpolen was not an annual plant. Once it took root, it bloomed year after year. Moreover, its roots improved the soil, turning the once barren land fertile. Even more astonishing, bingpolen bloomed in the deep of winter. When all other flowers withered, this made its value even more precious. By the 3rd year, their bingpolen had become well known. One day, a group of riders arrived quietly at their home. They were imperial physicians. They said the emperor's most beloved princess had fallen ill with a strange cold affliction. Someone recommended bingpolen, and the physicians were helpless. The emperor sent them to request medicine. Wanqing presented 3 complete bingpolen plants. The imperial physicians returned with lavish gifts and good news. The princess had fully recovered. The emperor was overjoyed and decreed bingpolen the royal jade flower. Wanqing's flower field became the royal exclusive garden. Every year, the entire harvest was purchased at a high price. Wanqing and her mother rose from poor outcasts to honored royal horticulturists. Wealth poured into their household, and their reputation reached the capital. When the news returned to the Lin family, those 2 women who were cast out now serve the royal family? Lin Mingde could not believe his ears. It's absolutely true. The whole capital speaks of it. They say bingpolen cures all illness, and even the emperor treasures it. Steward Fubo replied, a faint satisfaction hidden in his eyes. Lin Mingde and his younger brother Lin Mingyuan exchanged uneasy glances. In recent years, the Lin family had declined sharply. Internal strife and financial troubles left them far from their former glory. If we could obtain the cultivation method of bingpolen, Lin Mingde finally decided. The next day, the Lin clan set out grandly toward the southern wilderness. When they saw that the once barren hillside was now covered in the winter sunlight, blossoms, their mouths fell open in disbelief. Even more shocking was the residence at the center of the flower field, nothing like the broken hunter's shack from years ago. Just after sending off the imperial purchasing officer, Wanqing and her mother heard the commotion outside. When they stepped out, they found Lin Mingde, Lin Mingyuan, kneeling neatly in the snow outside the flower field. Sister, we were wrong back then. For the sake of our shared bloodline, please forgive us. Lin Mingde called out loudly. Mother stood at the doorway, expressionless. Wanqing gently held her mother's hand. She stepped forward. Uncle, what are you doing? We cannot accept this. Wanqing, niece, we admit our faults, Lin Mingyuan added. The Lin family is on the brink of ruin. Please grant us one seedling, just one, to save dozens of lives." Wang quietly looked at these once arrogant relatives, now kneeling humbly in the snow. "Please return," her feelings were mixed. Bing Polan is no ordinary plant. It requires a sincere heart to grow. It will wither, even if planted. Lin Mingde grew furious. "Wang! How can you say that? We came here sincerely to apologize. How can you show no mercy at all?" Mother suddenly spoke, her voice cold. "Back then, you drove us out in the dead of winter. Did you show mercy then? Had your father not prepared beforehand, we would have frozen to death on the streets. Where was your mercy at that time?" The Lin clan members fell silent, unable to respond. Wang let out a soft sigh. "Besides, the cultivation method of Bing Polan is a legacy grandfather left especially for us. Without his permission, I cannot pass it on." Lin Mingde's eyes brightened. "In that case, the seeds and manual should belong to the Lin family. My father's possessions should be divided equally among his sons," he insisted. Wang looked at his greedy expression. She finally understood why grandfather hid the inheritance. Bing Polan would have been ruined long ago. "The seeds in the manual," Wang said calmly. "I burned them, as grandfather instructed, after learning the method. Now only my mother and I know how to cultivate Bing Polan." The Lin clan fell into chaos, some enraged, others despairing, others ashamed. Just then, a carriage arrived. Fu Bo helped down an elderly woman with white hair. Wang looked closely. It was her grandmother. Since Wang and her mother were expelled, grandmother had moved to a quiet retreat outside the city, refusing to involve herself in family affairs. Now, hearing the Lin clan was harassing her granddaughter, she rushed over. "You unfilial children!" Grandmother struck her cane on the ground, trembling with anger. Back then, Tiancheng clearly left instructions. He left the southern estate to Wang and her mother. "And you altered the will behind his back. Did you think I wouldn't find out?" Lin Mingde and his brother paled, unable to lift their heads. Grandmother turned. "Your grandfather once told me, eyes filled with sorrow, Lin descendants, my only child inherited his character and determination. Bing Polan was meant for you alone." She glared at her sons. "Leave at once. If you disturb them again, I will petition the ancestral hall and expel you from the clan." After the Lin clan departed in shame, grandmother held Wang in her mother's hands. "I am old. I cannot control them anymore. I only ask that for the family's sake. You do not lower yourselves to their level." Wang supported her. "Grandmother, rest assured. I do not seek revenge, but Bing Polan's method is too important. Grandfather instructed that it must not be passed lightly." Grandmother nodded. "You are right. Such a sacred thing must never fall into wicked hands. It would only cause disaster." Time passed, and soon 5 years went by. Wang's flower field had expanded to cover the whole trackside. Every winter, countless Bing Polan bloomed across the mountains, drawing crowds of visitors. Wang had also married, a gentle scholar who loved plants more than fame. Though not accomplished in officialdom, he cherished nature. Together, they cultivated Bing Polan even better. They opened a clinic using Bing Polan to treat the poor. They built a school, teaching village children to read. Their good deeds spread far and wide. The Lin family, however, declined rapidly after that confrontation. Brothers fought over what remained of the estate, ending in ruin. Lin Mingde contracted a strange illness. It was said only Bing Polan could cure it, but he was too ashamed to beg. Within a year, he passed away, however, repented, gave away his wealth, and became a monk, spending his life in repentance before Buddha. One snowy night, Wangking and her husband stood together in the pavilion at the center of the field, the gentle fragrance drifted with the wind, pollen, soothing the heart. "Husband, look at these bing pollen. The colder it is, the more brilliantly they bloom," Wangking said softly. "Just like you become stronger and more beautiful in adversity." Gently. Wangking smiled, recalling that snowy night long ago. She and her mother were cast out with nowhere to go. If not for grandfather's seeds, if not for her refusal to give up, how could today's quiet happiness exist? Do you know, the most miraculous thing about bing pollen isn't its healing power, but the lesson it teaches, Wangking said, gazing over the ocean of flowers. In barren soil, if one does not give up, beauty will bloom. In hardship, as long as hope remains, change will come. Her husband took her hand. "So that's why you always say, to grow a flower is to grow a heart." Wangking nodded, eyes glistening. "It is the greatest inheritance grandfather left me." Snow began to fall again, landing on the shimmering petals of bing pollen until flower and snow became one, indistinguishable. Wangking murmured, "Next winter, this sea of flowers will bloom even more brilliantly. Like hope itself, once planted, it never dies."